You're listening to Tremendous Leadership with Dr. Tracey Jones.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Tremendous Leadership, Leaders on Leadership podcast, where we pull back the curtain on leadership and talk with leaders of all ages and stages of life about what it takes to truly pay the price of leadership. And today, my guest is the one, the only Caterina Rando. And let me tell you a little bit about Caterina. Caterina passionately serves women on a mission. Her over 25 years of educating and empowering entrepreneurs makes her truly masterful at providing a ton of tremendous value. Caterina is a sought-after speaker, workshop, and retreat leader, and a prolific author. Her books include Learn to Think Differently from Watkins Publishing, released in over 13 countries and several languages, A Woman's Guide to Starting a Giving Circle, and her latest book, The ABCs of Public Speaking. Caterina also leads an annual Bliss Retreat for Women Entrepreneurs on a Mission, and that is a sought-after speaker mastermind retreat. And she also does additional programs on sales and scaling your business. So tremendous. Caterina, welcome.
Thank you. It's tremendously wonderful to be here.
I love it. I love it. And for our listeners out there, Caterina and I only recently connected, correct, Caterina?
Yes.
And we have become fast friends since then. And immediately after talking to her, I knew our leaders need to hear what she had to say about leadership.
Yes. And remember that I met your dad and I heard your dad way back when. And so that made me even more happy to connect with you.
Isn't that amazing? It's just so beautiful how when you cast that tremendous shadow, how we just still keep living in the shadow, but yet connecting with one another and stepping into the light ourselves. So yeah, Caterina, thank you so much for letting our tremendous tribe know you go way back. All right. Well, listen, we are here to talk all things leadership. And speaking of my father, one of his most prolific speeches was called The Price of Leadership. And in it, my father talked that there are some things that you are going to have to do to truly be called a leader. It isn't all just the corner office perks, flying first class and all that good stuff. And he said, there's a price you have to pay. And Caterina, the first price that he talked about is loneliness. And we've all heard that, it's lonely at the top. But can you unpack for us, with your decades of experience, what does loneliness look like for you? Maybe some advisement for maybe some of our leaders out there that might be in a season of loneliness.
Well, the first thing to know is that there's this idea that we're supposed to do things ourselves, that we're the leader. It's all, we have to be alone in our leadership. And what I want to strongly encourage all leaders to do is to find a community of other leaders that you get to be a part of, not your client community or if you work for an organization, the people that you work with in that organization, but another community that you get to be a part of, where you're not the smartest person in the room, where you're one of many, where they are also having similar challenges or completely different challenges, but they're at the same level as you. And I will say that early in my career, I didn't do that. I had a coach, but I didn't have a community of leaders that I was a part of. And as soon as I started looking for communities of leaders to be a part of, the more support I felt, the less loneliness I felt, and the more like I felt I had people to talk to that could understand what I was going through. Now, I will also say, your spouse, their job is to love and support you, and not to be your coach or your counselor, and not to provide solutions, because all of that can create disharmony in the home. And as a woman, I will tell you, when I was married, my husband wanted to fix all my problems. And that challenge is that, again, it creates disharmony if you don't have another place to bring your challenges. And so I do want to encourage people, this is because if you want to have a harmonious marriage, make sure you have another place to have your leadership challenges addressed. And the other thing is, that's where you get mentorship, and that's where you get inspiration. You're inspired by what other people are doing and the challenges that they're going through. But the thing about loneliness, and I will say I've spent a lot of lonely time in my life, because, the thing is that when you have a business or you're a leader of a community or a company, there's sometimes things you have to do on the weekends, and there's sometimes things you have to do at night, and that it's a choice that we make, and choose your choice. I'm always happy to do my thing, but I don't make myself wrong for doing my thing when I don't get to be at the beach or at the restaurant. My sister invited me to go to Sausalito for lunch the other day, and Sausalito, if you've ever been there, it's beautiful. I'm on the other side of the Golden Gate Bridge. And she said, "Do you want to go to lunch now-ish?" And I was like, "No, I can't go. I have classes to teach today. I have meetings." But that's okay, because you know what? I can go to Sausalito with her another time. So rather than feeling bad or depressed that, oh my gosh, sorry for me. Well, guess what? Good for me that I have a thriving organization that I have the privilege of leading. So your perspective has a lot to do with it. At the same time, a lot of leaders do not schedule that quality family time or quality community time. And that's the first thing I do right now. We're planning for next year. My vacations, my retreats, not the ones I'm leading, but the ones I'm going on as a participant with my leader community that I'm a part of, that is what goes on the calendar first.
I love it. Well, I love that you said choose your choice, and then don't
Right.
beat yourself, and then don't
Right.
wallow and say, well, listen, we make sacrifices and balance things. And I'll tell you, Caterina, the older I get, the more I would say, and I talk to a lot of young leaders, what you said about is find that community. And
Right.
I think a lot of times, it can't be your clients, but sometimes it shouldn't even be your chain of command. Get somebody
Absolutely.
outside, even your
Outside.
friend chain of command, because they
Right.
can't give it to you. And that is the number one thing that I think costs me time. All things work together for good. I get it. But
Right.
I would say to the leaders out there, and at any stage, Caterina, because a lot of us are still developing, a lot of our tremendous listeners are in their 60s and they're now starting the entrepreneur goal. And so finding that community out there is just so critical.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I'm just shy of 60. I'm 56. So, the 60 is coming. But the truth is, for many of your listeners, I'm sure, Dr. Tracey, as long as they're above ground, they're going to be leading. And it doesn't matter, retirement is not what it used to be. Okay.
Right.
Retirement just means you're starting something new, or you're doing it a little less, and I know that and I know that your listeners have a commitment to personal growth and learning for life. And this whole discussion that we've just had about finding a community to be a part of is so important, because that's a place where you're going to continue to learn and grow and thrive. If I could just give a quick example, I was with my friend who's also my coach, and she has this leader community I'm a part of. And she was doing this segment on values, helping everybody identify their values. And of course I teach this, but this day I'm a student, so I'm listening attentively. And she's talking about this value and this value and this value. And two things happen. One, I pointed out to her that integrity was not on her list. And having known her for years, I know that she operates with integrity. Sometimes we're so much something that we don't even think about. Okay. So that was my learning for her. On my side, she was talking about, well, this value. And then she said efficiency. And I've been in business almost 30 years. It's like efficiency, because I'm creative, because I'm like, hey, let's do this. Efficiency never even occurred to me. And of course, efficiency is part of what supports profitability.
Yes.
So that added to my list. So I'm saying this because it doesn't matter how long you've been doing your thing, how smart you are, how much experience you've had. On any given day, there are a lot of people that can teach you a lot of things, or one little thing that can make a huge difference. So I share that with you because I know your listeners have a commitment to growth and learning, and there's a lot of places to get it when you're committed to it.
I love it, Caterina. Beautiful. All right. So loneliness. The next thing he said was weariness.
Yes.
So how do you stay replenished? We're still mere mortals, even though we have the God seed in us. How
Right.
do we stay at the top of our game?
Well, I'm going to tell you my elixir of replenishment, getting a good night's sleep. It is so simple, but you know what? It is not easy because when you have so many responsibilities and there's so much to do. And the other thing that Dr. Tracey many leaders have is what I call brilliant idea syndrome, where, you start to get down, you're never going to get through your to-do list. That's the first thing, but you start to get down and then all these new brilliant ideas come up, right? And so then you want to start on those. Well, the thing is that you have to, and this is something that the studies show, successful people have an AM routine and a PM routine. And part of that routine is getting up by a certain time, getting their fitness or their meditation or their prayer in the morning before the action starts, but then also having a shutdown time when, hey, all screens are off by this time. I'm getting ready for bed by this time. And it sounds like I'm talking about sixth graders, but the truth is that you cannot have a vital day if you did not have a vital night's sleep, and that your body wants to have the same sleep schedule. Now, of course, you can't keep it 100% of the time, but this idea of burning the midnight oil, where maybe you did that in your 20s when you're getting ready for exam, but as you get older, that doesn't work for having a vital day. And again, this is what the studies show, that successful people have a consistent AM PM routine. And part of that includes getting good night's sleep. That is my elixir of life. There's many more things, but that is one thing that it's very important to shine the spotlight on.
I love it. And when are you most productive? Are you an AM? We have people get on here that say their day starts at 4.
No, my day does not start at 4, my friend. Okay, just be very clear. I get up at about, if I'm having a super amazing day, I'm getting up at 8 and I'm shutting down at 11 or 11:30 or 12 so that I have time to get, and I don't start I don't start my morning appointments until 10 a.m.
Okay.
Now, that's because I want time for my exercise, for my reviewing my goals, for my self-care, my shower. I want to do that. And then but then I work at night, not every night, but I work 2 or 3 nights a week, because for speaking and teaching, it dictates that.
Absolutely.
And also Clubhouse. I do Clubhouse sometimes in the evening.
Okay. And I thank you for saying that, because some people are the way early, and then I'll call them at 8:30 and they're like, we were already in bed. And I'm like, oh, okay. That's not going to be my natural circadian rhythm. I'm more, if I get to bed by midnight, that's good. But then, like you said, I'm up and I'm moving, but I agree. Absolutely. A routine is so critical. Right. I love Elixir. That's like my favorite word.
Good. And I do want to say, because I run that risk, being somebody who likes to work at night when there's no interruptions, there's no phone calls, no appointments, but I do run the risk if, I'm enjoying what I'm doing, and then I could go all night and I have to stop myself to get myself to bed. So when you're a night creative, it's very important to get that routine going. I am.
So what are your, any tips as a night creative? Because I could work till 3 in the morning and get up at 8. Like 5 is my ideal, but I'm like, no. How do you calm your brain?
That's the, you wear the blue, I can't find them right now, but I have these great blue light glasses that I wear at night when I'm on the computer, because what happens is the blue light stimulates your body more. And so you definitely have to wear blue light glasses for being on the computer at night. Also, you set a time by, hey, all screens off by this time, because don't think you're going to watch that movie and then fall asleep 5 minutes later, right?
Right.
You got to turn all screens off a couple hours before you go to bed.
Oh, okay.
And then have something that you do at night that helps you fall asleep. So when I'm getting ready for bed, I used to sometimes listen to different audio tapes and everything. Of course, I love that, but audio tapes, do we even say that anymore? Anyway, even Clubhouse rooms with education, but now I listen to meditative music because if I start listening to, all the inspirational messages, then the brain goes back up into high gear and it's actually keeping me up versus helping me fall asleep. So everybody has to find those things that actually help lullaby you to sleep. But the blue light glasses are a huge thing everyone needs in their life.
Oh, thank you for that. Cause I hadn't even thought of that. And I will be even if it's just researching or reading, or just, I'm a researcher at heart. So I'm always just reading peer-reviewed journal, whatever. And I noticed that then I come away and I'm just like, I can't sleep. But not that I'm stressed. I just can't sleep. You know what I'm saying? So, okay.
Right.
Excellent. Well, okay. So loneliness, weariness. The next topic my father hit on was abandonment. And, Caterina, abandonment typically has a negative connotation, fear of abandonment. For those of us that are in animal rescue, that's a no-no. But his point was we need to really abandon what we like and want to think about in favor of what we ought and need to think about. So his abandonment was more of this intense focus. And you kind of alluded to it with us entrepreneurs. Boy, when the light bulbs are going off, it's tough. How do you stay laser focused?
Well, part of staying laser focused is I have determination galore. And I was talking to one of my clients the other day. She's a productivity coach. And, she's done a great job of growing her sales, but of course she wants more. And we were talking about how she could do that. And she just blurted out, I am determined. And she blurted out, I am determined, with so much determination that it really stuck. And we have to be determined, not only to keep doing our thing, but be determined to keep doing our thing better. I like to say we're always upgrading. And when you talk about this, abandon what you're doing for something better or what you should be doing. That's the thing. I mean, we all are doing just fine, but we have to have a commitment and be determined that we're going to do our work better, that we're going to treat our team better, that we're going to treat our clients even better, that we're going to even treat ourselves and love ourselves and treat our bodies better. Like there's a determination that has to be underneath it all that has us continue to seek more. And this, I would say, is what infuses this idea of now I like one of the things I've noticed in my business is that when you're always upgrading, that means you got to abandon what you're doing for the next thing. But also I've seen it with people. Like I remember before the pandemic, my assistant, she said, hey, Caterina, I'm moving on to my next thing. And she left. Well, guess what? My next assistant, best assistant I ever had in my life, has uplifted my life so much in so many ways, supporting me beyond, opening the door for my business to do this and do that additional. We've expanded our team significantly even more. And if I wasn't willing to abandon, or she left, so she, I guess, abandoned me. But the truth is that, sometimes we stay and we stay in relationships too long. And some of those relationships are professional. Some of those relationships are with clients or employees or people on our team. And just because we think there is nobody better,
yes,
or we don't want to take the time to find somebody better. So this is very important because your next might be the best, but you have to be willing to let go of what you've got.
Well, even if it's good. Yeah. And I just what you were talking about, abandonment is really pruning. It's constantly with a discerning eye looking at it and going, okay, this is good, but the next season we're going to have to change it up. And that's tough, especially if something's good, but you always got to be looking at where can I focus my resources for explosive growth versus just, residual momentum or more of the same, or this is good enough.
And that's the thing is when you are a leader or a thriving woman in business that I like to call myself, good enough is not good enough.
Yeah.
There's always another level. And it's not just a level of excellence. It's a level of joy. It's a level of bliss.
Beautiful.
It's a level of ease. And that's what I want to encourage everyone to seek more of.
Okay. I love that. I'm writing that down. I love that level of ease and my dad used to say that. He's like, Tracey, when you work your fingers to the bone, all you get is bony fingers. And just like your friend that's determined, I'll die before I quit. And I get the whole Puritan work ethic. It shouldn't be that hard. When you're in your flow and in your zone and surrounded with your talent stack, you should see that confirmation of just joy. The work never stops, but it's a different kind of loneliness and weariness, right? It's not the bad kind. It's the good. I'm good tired, not bad tired.
Yeah. I mean, and I understand what you said. You said Puritan work ethic.
Right.
Tracey. And
I'm from Pennsylvania, so it's very much, work.
Right. Well, I come from an immigrant background. My grandparents came through Ellis Island, and my grandfather owned a grocery store. My other grandfather was a shoemaker. They did extremely well for themselves and built up their own businesses and property, and they worked their whole life. They worked very hard. And my dad said, he's a fast eater because he would have to eat his dinner very fast when he was growing up, because he had to go down to the grocery store to help his dad after he finished his dinner, and dad was still working. And I'm sharing this with you because this is embedded in us. What did we see? What did we grow up with? And even what's the lineage of our families? And we get to choose too. I value hard work very much. Mm-hmm. I appreciate hard work. I welcome hard work. And when the work starts to hurt emotionally, to make me depressed because I'm doing it too much, then that means you need to take a break. And as you were saying, replenishment is part of what's necessary. And I also want to say this for women, because women often think, well, if I go to the spa or I go get my nails done, I'm spoiling myself. No, that's replenishment. That's not spoiling. And this is essential for people to understand.
I love it. Okay. So we did loneliness, weariness, abandonment. And the last topic my dad hit on was vision. And a lot of times vision sounds like this esoteric, oh, you're a visionary, but he was really down to earth. That. And he's very pragmatic and came from real humble beginnings. So he's like, no, vision isn't some, magic 8-ball, Nostradamus. It's seeing what needs to be done and then doing it. So like embracing it and then integrating it. So what does vision mean for you, Caterina? And how do you continue to hone and refine it as you grow your business and your lineage?
Yeah. Well, I would say vision is not one of my challenge areas, because my brilliant idea syndrome usually gives me lots of visions, more than I have time to pursue. To me, a vision is that picture in the future that you can actually take a snapshot of once you're there, of you not only doing something, but experiencing something. And in my case, with my business, with other people, and having positive impact. And fun is always part of my vision too. Like, how good is it going to feel? My next thing is I want to do a big conference on a cruise ship with lots of speakers, and I have a special name for the conference. And that gets me very excited. And I want to say one challenge with vision, if I could, Dr. Tracey. Okay. So I just told you like my vision that's in my head right now, my next really exciting thing. And part of the challenge with being a very creative person, which most entrepreneurs are, is that the next exciting thing, like I just mentioned to you, that is way more alluring than my Thrive at Sales class I've taught 10 times, or even the speaker mastermind that I have coming up in a few weeks. And that we have to really watch ourselves, because you want to be massively monetizing and creating that efficiency and that rinse and repeat with everything you already have before you start to pursue the next exciting idea. And this is where a lot of entrepreneurs fall down, and even leaders. And so I told you my exciting vision, Dr. Tracey, but you know what? It's not on the calendar until the end of the year to even start working on it. Why? Because you have to be solidifying, this is even a better way to say it, solidifying what you've already got before you start the next thing.
Well, and it's there is no plan B when you're still working plan A. And you just hit, and took me marketing
Yeah, right.
decades to learn. I can't
Right.
even want to tell you how much money. Stop going out there and looking for new customers. Focus on the ones you have right there, and amazing. You just things you were saying really inspired that to me. Do with them and let them be your marketing arm, not just picking an AdWord. Nothing against Google AdWords, but seriously, come on now. Any of our listeners out there that have tried them, they're not just going to magically work, but you take care of your tribe, and then they go out and they spread the word. You're all about community, and that's how you grow your community.
Yes. Community, client appreciation is also very important. And I 100% agree with you, because I will tell you something. Last year in September, I started to ask my clients if they wanted to continue for the next year. And we did great. We had 30 signups in September for the next year. Now, I thought it was going to be too early. And yeah, there were a few people that said, not ready to make a decision yet, but a lot of people did. So you know what I did this year, Dr. Tracey? I said, let me see if I can talk to them in August. We did it this year. We went all the way back to August, signing them up for next year. And we got about 30 clients to sign up for next year in August. Yes. Now, you know what the exciting thing about that is? That gives me September, October, November, December to get all the other people on board and here's the other thing. One of the things that I did is I looked at my client list and I said, because just like we're upgrading this, that, and the other thing, you're also upgrading your client list. And I said, who are my clients that I love? They're fabulous, but you know what? They're not quite the right match for where we're going for whatever reason. Maybe for me, I only want positive clients that tend to be optimistic and they're coachable, but also, are we adding additional criteria? Because you're always looking at, what does it take for me to make people successful? How can I best support them? And so this is important for every year for people to be looking at their client list and see, is there any clients that maybe you don't want to bring them along next year? Because in the earlier years of business, people tend to take every Mary, Jane, and Sheila, Tom, Dick, and Harry as a client. And then the more we are in business, the more discerning we get. And so this is very important to note. But I do want to point out, we have beliefs that, they won't want to talk to me in August. Well, I did have that belief, but I was shocked because a lot of people were ready to get started. And this is what happens when you provide massive value. They're ready, they're insta yes.
I love it. Okay. Loneliness, weariness, abandonment, and vision, that we've covered that. Caterina, wow, you have given our listeners so much great stuff. I am so thankful for that. Anything else as we're talking all things leadership that you want to share with the listeners right now?
Yes.
Good.
Perfection is not required or encouraged. Now, I share that. But first of all, I don't even know if it even exists. And if it does exist, it's boring anyway. So
not this side of heaven, it doesn't.
Right.
We're all works in progress. Yeah.
Right, my friend. Okay. So here's the thing, that so many people have an idea, they want to get started, but they're getting ready to begin to think about how they might get going. And really, we learn in the doing. We master, and perfection is never a goal. Mastery is the goal. And this is why it's important for people to get started, because the more they push off getting started, because they're getting ready to get ready, not only are they pushing off their mastery, they're also pushing off any revenue or any upgrades associated with that change. So this is key. This is important for people to recognize. We don't care about perfection. We're pursuing mastery, and that comes from getting in action.
Brilliant. My dad would say that too. Production to perfection. You're never going to get it this just right, but every decision you make turns it into the more perfect version, because we don't know where we're going to wind up. That's the journey. And, works in progress, beautiful pieces of art take years, decades, as all the layers are unfolded, and the brush strokes and the tapestry were works in progress. So I love hearing that. I love hearing that. Don't do perfection, mastery. And the only way to do mastery is one day at a time, one task at a time. Excellent. Okay. Caterina, thank you so much for your time today. What is the best way? I know our listeners are going to be excited to connect with you. What's the best way for people to reach out to you?
Well, I do want to mention, everyone can go to my website, CaterinaRando.com. And if you go to CaterinaRando.com/gifts, you will see I've got business checklists there. I've got
Oh,
an ebook
nice.
on getting booked for speaking. I've got all kinds of massive value at CaterinaRando.com/gifts. Oh, and feel free to reach out to me through LinkedIn or Facebook direct message. I'm there every day. I'm on Clubhouse. I have my Thriving Women in Biz room on Clubhouse. We have a Facebook group. I'm here to support everyone every way that I can, because Dr. Tracey, just like you, I like to say a rising woman lifts all the women around her.
Amen.
And by the way, you, my friend, are a rising woman.
I'll
Bing,
tell you what,
bing.
right back at you. I always feel so jubilant after talking to you and watching what you're doing. You are my sister in so many ways. And I just thank you for sharing of your time and your wisdom, what you're doing for so many people out there. Thank you, Caterina.
Thank you. It's my honor and privilege to be with you.
And I look forward to us connecting in person in 2022.
Yes.
That would be tremendous. All right. So for our listeners out there, thank you so much for being part of our tremendous tribe. If you like what you heard, please be sure and hit that subscribe button out there. And we would love the honor of a 5-star review wherever you hear the Tremendous Leadership, Leaders on Leadership podcast. You make sure and you put Caterina in your tremendous tribe too, because boy, you need somebody like her in there as well. And thank you so much for being a part of the tremendous legacy. Thank you for paying the price of leadership. Have a tremendous rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Tremendous Leadership with Dr. Tracey Jones. Find out more about Dr. Jones at www.tremendousleadership.com. If you've been ignited by something you heard in this episode, let us know by leaving a review for Tremendous Leadership wherever you listen to podcasts, or by sending us a message through www.tremendousleadership.com.